On August 1st, 1969, three newspapers in California each received a letter, typed in cold, deliberate language. Each claimed credit for two brutal murders. Each was signed with a strange symbol, a circle with a cross through it, and each came with a cryptogram, a puzzle made of symbols, letters, and threats. This is a Zodiac speaking. I like killing people because it is so much fun. The media printed the letters. The public panicked. And the killer, whoever he was, watched it all unfold. His identity remains one of the most infamous mysteries in American history. His cipher, still partially unsolved. His body count, still debated. And his legend, alive and very well. This is the Midnight Mystery Archive, and tonight, The Zodiac Killer, Part 1, Letters of Blood. It began like a ghost story. A car, a quiet road, a couple in love, and a killer with a plan. Lake Herman Road, December 20th, 1968. Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday were high school sweethearts. She was 16, he was 17. It was just days before Christmas when they drove out to Lake Herman Road, a secluded lover's lane outside Vallejo, California. They never made it home. At approximately 11:15 p.m., another driver spotted their car parked by the road. Passenger side door open, engine off. Inside, silence. Outside, chaos. David was found slumped next to the car, shot in the head at close range. Betty Lou had run. She made it about 28 feet before being gunned down. 5 bullets in her back. There was no robbery, no assault, no witnesses, no answers. Just 2 dead teenagers. Investigators were stunned by the coldness. There was no attempt to disguise the scene. Shell casings were recovered, all from a .22 caliber weapon. But there was no motive, no known enemies, just 2 teenagers killed with military precision. The case quickly grew cold. But this, as we know, was only the beginning. Blue Rock Springs, July 4th, 1969. 6 months later, almost to the day, it happened again. Darlene Farron, 22, and Michael Maggio, 19, parked at a secluded lot in Blue Rock Springs Park, just a few miles from Lake Herman Road. It was late, nearly midnight on Independence Day. A car pulled in beside them, then drove off. Minutes later, it returned. A man stepped out with a flashlight. Michael thought it was the police, but he would be wrong. Without warning, the man opened fire, 9mm rounds through the passenger window. Michael was struck 4 times, but survived. Darlene wasn't so lucky. She died on the way to the hospital. Just 40 minutes after the attack, a call came in to Vallejo Police Department. The man on the line was calm, matter-of-fact, and unbothered. I want to report a double murder. If you will go 1 mile east on Columbus Parkway to the public park, you will find the kids in a brown car. They were shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye. The call was traced to a payphone near the police station. A left-handed man, no prints, no witnesses. 2 double shootings, 2 different calibers, and now a signature. When the letter arrived 3 weeks later, it was clear. The killer was not done. He didn't just want to murder, he wanted an audience. He demanded his cipher be printed, or he'd kill again. He claimed to be collecting victims for the afterlife, and he wanted the world to know his name, Zodiac. He would sign every letter with that mark, and every threat would become a chapter in California's most chilling unsolved saga. On August 1st, 1969, 3 California newspapers received identical letters, each opened with the same cold phrase: "Dear editor, I am the killer of the 2 teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman." Each letter included 1/3 of a strange 408-character cryptogram, a series of symbols, shapes, and letters arranged in a tightly packed grid. Each letter demanded publication, or the killer threatened to murder again that very weekend. The San Francisco Chronicle, San Francisco Examiner, and Viejo Times-Herald published the letters. The Zodiac's game has officially begun. 2 amateur codebreakers, Donald and Betty Harden, a school teacher couple from Salinas, cracked the cipher just days later. What it said was chilling. "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all. When I die, I will be reborn in paradise and all that I have killed will become my slaves." No identity, no apology, just a manifesto of bloodlust and ego, and the spelling errors only added to the mystery. Were they genuine or part of the misdirection? The Zodiac was playing with everyone: the police, the media, and the public. Over the next several months, more letters came. Some contained gruesome details only the killer could know. Others mocked the police for their failures. In one letter he bragged, "The police shall never catch me because I have been too clever for them. I enjoy needling the blue pigs." He threatened school buses. He threatened children. He even included a diagram of a homemade bomb supposedly intended to detonate near a school bus. Fear and panic took hold. Parents refused to let children walk to school. Newspapers scrambled to stay ahead of the story, walking a fine line between informing and inciting panic. The circle with the cross became his calling card, scrawled on envelopes, on victims' cars, and even referenced in his homemade bomb diagrams. He soon began demanding to be addressed directly. "This is the Zodiac speaking." A name he gave himself, a persona, an enigma wrapped in ego. Police considered the possibility that he was a former military man or had a background in cryptography. He was methodical, organized, but arrogant, almost daring authorities to catch him. But even as the letters poured in, no solid leads emerged. The Zodiac wasn't just committing murder, he was orchestrating a performance. He once wrote, "I get awfully lonely when I am ignored, so you don't have to worry about me mailing any more threats." But of course, he always did. Each new letter included cryptic clues, taunts directed at the quote, "pigs," and bizarre references from Shakespeare to Mcconnell operettas. Some letters even included fragments of clothing from his victims, proving his claims. He wanted not just fear, but immortality. By late 1969, the Zodiac had become a national story. TV news anchors debated his psychology. Experts speculated on his code structure. Amateur sleuths tried their hand at the ciphers. And yet, the man himself remained a ghost. In his December letter, he introduced a new concept: that he had already killed 37 people, far more than the 5 confirmed cases. He even began ranking his victims, tallying slaves for the afterlife like points on a scorecard. There was no way to verify the body count. No one knew what was real and what was Zodiac's fiction. But the fear, that was always real. On September 27, 1969, the Zodiac changed tactics. This time, there was no shadowy parking lot, no darkened back road, no nighttime surprise. Instead, he struck in broad daylight under the California sun with a mask, a knife, and a terrifying performance. Cecilia Shepard, 22, and Brian Hartnell, 20, were enjoying a quiet afternoon by the lake. They had taken a small boat across to a grassy knoll near Lake Berryessa, northeast of Napa. It was peaceful. They were talking, relaxing, but they weren't alone. A man appeared from the trees. He wore a black hooded executioner's mask, complete with clip-on sunglasses and a white circle and cross insignia across his chest. In his hand, a pre-written note listing demands for money and a getaway car. But there was no car, no robbery, and escape was never part of the plan. He spoke calmly, in a low, rehearsed tone, told them he was an escaped convict from Montana, said he just needed their car and their money. Brian tried to reason with him, but the man was unmoved. He handed Brian a length of plastic clothesline and told Cecilia to tie him up. Then he tied Cecilia. Then he checked and retied them both tighter. And then, without warning, he pulled a knife from his belt. He stabbed Brian 6 times, then Cecilia. 10 stab wounds, deep, deliberate, and merciless. He left them bleeding on the ground, got up, and walked away. Before he fled, he took a black felt pen and wrote on the door of Brian's Volkswagen, Viejo, 12/20/68, 7/4/69, September 27/69, 6:30 p.m., by knife, Zodiac symbol. The killer was keeping score. Miraculously, Brian survived. He crawled for help after the attacker disappeared. Both were rushed to the hospital, but Cecilia succumbed to her injuries just 2 days later. From his hospital bed, Brian gave a full description: the executioner's outfit, the quiet, calculated tone, the lack of hesitation. He'd looked into the killer's eyes through sunglasses and seen nothing, just cold purpose. Later that night, another call came in. A man's voice, emotionless. "I want to report a murder." "No, a double murder. They are 2 miles north of park headquarters. They were in a white Volkswagen, Carmen Ghia. I'm the one that did it." The call was traced to a payphone in Napa near the police station. As before, no prints, no witnesses, no errors. He had killed in daylight, worn a costume, ridden on a car, called the police, and vanished again. Lake Berryessa and the attack there was different. It wasn't just murder, it was theatrical violence. The Zodiac didn't rely on surprise or a gun. He created a scene, a narrative like a one-man horror show. Why the mask? Why the monologue? Was it to cement the mythology? Was he testing how much fear he could instill in his victims before the act? Or was it all about control? With this performance, the Zodiac escalated his legend from serial killer to cultural specter, and the public, they were hooked and horrified. By the fall of 1969, the Zodiac Killer was a household name. 3 confirmed attacks, 5 victims dead, 2 survivors, a public held hostage by his letters, and a media machine caught in his grip. But on October 11th, 1969, in the heart of San Francisco, he did something no one expected. He broke the pattern. Paul Stein, 29, wasn't a couple parked at a lover's lane. He wasn't even in a remote wooded area. He wasn't even a romantic target. He was a cab driver, working a regular shift in Presidio Heights, a quiet upper-class neighborhood. At 9:55 p.m., he picked up a fare near Union Square. The destination was Washington and Maple, but Paul never made it that far. Instead, his cab stopped at the corner of Washington and Cherry Streets. That's where he was shot in the back of the head, execution style. The killer didn't run. He stayed in the car long enough to rifle through Paul's pockets, take his wallet and keys, and even tear off a piece of his blood-soaked shirt. Then he stepped out, calmly wiped down the cab, and vanished into the night. 3 teenagers in a nearby house saw everything. They watched the man walk away, described him as a white male, 25 to 30, crew cut, glasses, barrel-chested, dressed like just a regular guy. They called police immediately. But here's where it gets stranger. Dispatch mistakenly described the suspect as black. 2 patrol officers actually passed the real killer walking down the street and let him go. 2 days later, the Zodiac sent another letter to the San Francisco Chronicle. This time, he included a scrap of Paul Stine's blood-stained shirt. It was his way of proving what everyone feared. The Zodiac had come to the city, and he was escalating again. In the letter, he threatened to shoot children, to bomb school buses, to target the public in random, unpredictable ways. One line became legendary. School children make nice targets. I think I shall wipe out a school bus some morning. That single sentence triggered citywide panic. Police followed school buses. Parents drove their kids instead. The city braced for mass terror. But nothing happened. Was it another bluff, or did something stop him? The Paul Stine murder confused investigators because it didn't fit the Zodiac's previous pattern. It wasn't a couple, it wasn't in a secluded spot, it wasn't a knife or a previously used gun. Had the Zodiac changed? Was it even the same man? Many investigators believed it was. The handwriting in the letters matched. The shirt fragment was real, and the taunting theatrical tone, unmistakable. But the confidence was starting to crack. The Zodiac was no longer just playing games. He was rewriting his own rules. In November 1969, another cipher arrived, the 340-character code, now famously known as the Z340. This one would remain unsolved for over 50 years. Not until December 2020 would a team of amateur cryptologists finally crack it. The message? I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber. No identity, no remorse, just glee at his ability to elude capture. By the end of 1969, there were 5 confirmed murders, but Zodiac himself claimed 37. Police departments across California scrambled to link unsolved cases. Suspect sketches circulated. People were arrested, interrogated, and released. The FBI joined in. Task forces were formed. Paranoia grew at a fever pitch, but leads fizzled. Witnesses faded. And the Zodiac? He continued to write, but no one could catch him. The first chapter of the Zodiac Killer saga ends in 1969 with terror, riddles, and death. But this story is far from over. In part 2, we'll explore the evolving theories, the prime suspects, including one man who seemed to fit every profile, the decades-long manhunt, and the recent claims that the Zodiac's identity may finally be known. But beware, the deeper you look into the Zodiac, the more he looks back. This is the Midnight Mystery Archive. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Also, follow us on TikTok. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Until next time.